Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Here's The Lord of the Rings. It's the second expansion for The Lord of the Rings, the Rainier Knizia cooperative game, the Sauron Expansion. I'm just going to do a quick look at what's in the box, tell you a little bit about it, and then give my thoughts on it as I do with my expansion reviews. You can see the Black Riders on the front. They will be entering the fray with this one. When you open up, you're going to get a rule book. The rule book's going to be really big. This is a big book. Pros and cons of that is going to be lots of pictures. The font could be bigger, but the font's actually kind of small in here. Picture of all the components you're going to have. And then this is not going to tell you how to play the base game. It's just going to explain all the new stuff to you. These are really nice when you're reading it. You know, it feels like a giant book. It's really good. There's no cheat sheet on it. But when you're on the table and you're trying to fumble through this, it's a little bit unwieldy. You don't see books this big anymore. This was something almost out of the past, but here you go. You know, it's not terrible. It's not a reason not to get it, but it is big. You're going to have this, like, custom insert thing. It's kind of custom, I guess, but it feels more like maybe it was used in other games. It is what it is what you see. You're going to get some cards. These are all going to match the base game. Not my favorite cards, but they do feel pretty good when you're going through them. I don't like this artwork very much, to be honest. I just don't like the style, you know. This might be something that you really enjoy, this style. I just do not. So that would be that. These tiles you're going to get, this is very much in line with the first one. But as you can see, it's a black square. You know, it's okay. The quality is okay. It's not the thickest, not the thinnest. It's fine. You're going to get a bunch of these little tokens that you'll be using through the game. Once again, the iconography is just very, very simple. It's a white background with a black 3. You will get this bag. It does have the Eye of Sauron. I don't know if you can you see that? That's there. It's not colorful or pops out or anything. I can actually stick my whole meat hand in there. And you're going to have some tiles that will be in here of the different colors. Once again, the artwork is not great in my book. You get this little miniature of the Black Rider. It's okay. It almost looks like the Headless Horseman here. You know, the detail is not what you're used to now with FFG or other ones. It looks kind of silly in today's standards. But, you know, when this came out, this is pretty nice to have. Custom insert, like I said, but doesn't really fit this game. What you could do is just take all this out, bag it up, put it in the core box, ditch that insert, and you're ready to go. If you wanted to keep it on here, I mean, there are places for you to keep everything if you wanted to. It's just much bigger than it needs to be. It almost feels like it's this big to fit the rulebook. Okay, Sauron player is going to take the Sauron card and put this face up in front of them, and it kind of gives you an overview of what the turn is going to be like, or in case you forget who you are when you're playing. You also take the Sauron deck, you will shuffle this up, and you'll draw 2 cards into your hand, and this will be your starting hand that you'll have in the game. Now, this would not be face up. I'm just going to play it there for illustration purposes. Then you're going to shuffle the Nazgul cards. You'll shuffle those up really good. And you'll take 2 of these, and you will place them face up so everybody can see. And you can set this card beside you. And then as a Sauron player, there you are. So here's the Black Rider. You would take him, and you put him on number 15, the Corruption line. I don't have the base game out right now, but you have this board right here that will be set up. You will put him on 15. The Hobbits are over here. As a Corruption, they'll be getting closer and closer together. So he will start on 15, and he'll represent the Black Riders that are in the game. There are new Fellowship cards that will come in. Black Rider does not move. So these will give little powers. Group may discard 5 shields to call any 1 Gandalf card. Active player may play a total of 3 white gray cards down play. So whoever character you are, you will get your new Fellowship card. In addition, the 2 Gandalf cards will go face up. Protection and Foresight. Protection, ignore all consequences of 1 Nazgul or Sauron card. Foresight, this will be played with the bag replacement. Draw 5 tiles from the bag and display them face up. While they remain, players must choose from these tiles instead of drawing from the bag. So you kind of put these 2 face up so the players will have, the Fellowship will have access to them. The Fellowship will have their new character cards that give them new abilities. Then you'll take the 6 resource cards that you have, and you'll just use these face up as a resource deck. I'll just set them right there so you can see. That'll be the resource deck. You take the resource chips, you will shuffle these up. You will then take 4 at random, and you're going to put these on the board. So these resource chips will go on the board to start up. There's going to be, as you can see in the book here, I don't have the original game out right now, but you have 4 spots that you'll put these out on the board, and then those will be randomized for the resource chips. In addition, there's 4 new event tiles that will come out. You just put these in the bag with the other ones. You're going to have a nice bag that you'll have with this setup. You put these in there with the other ones, and when they draw, you'll take care of them. These are different than the ones that were black that I'll explain later that come with the game. So the Sauron player will be playing one versus all against the other players. They will not have an actual turn that will be in the game. Instead, the Sauron player will take a turn in one of two spaces. One, if the die is ever rolled. So the Fellowship needs to roll the dice, but they can prevent that die roll. Sauron cannot take a turn. Only if they're like, I can't do anything, and the die may be rolled. The second time that a Sauron player will get to take a turn is at the beginning of the turn before the Fellowship takes any turns. So Sauron will always go first, and any time the die needs to be rolled, he can also take a turn. Now, Sauron will be playing cards from his hand that will allow him to do different things. So if you see like a black mark, you could play this card down, and then the Black Rider would move 3 spots on the corruption line, for example. If you see a little circle like this, then the Hobbit players would move closer on the corruption line. You see the shield, that would allow they must discard that many shields. So if I played this card, we'd have to get rid of 1 shield, and the Sauron figure moves 1 step closer to the Hobbit. So just like the base game. Here you see Sauron move, and then the Hobbits would move. Here the Black Rider would move 3 spots and 3 spots. You'd have a square here. The Fellowship must roll the die, which would activate the Sauron player to take a turn. So you can just play these cards, and instead of like random chance moving things around the board, the Sauron player will be dictating that with the strategy of utilizing these cards. He's going to have a limited number in his hand at any given time. So if you need to do a die roll, you can always play a Sauron card and utilize it. If in the die phase, if you didn't want to play one of these, you could draw back up to 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That will replenish your hand. Now, at the start of the turn, once again, you could play one of your Sauron cards to kind of dictate what's going to go. Or you can draw a single card. You don't draw up to 6 unless it's a die roll spot. But at this point, I could draw a single card into my hand. Now, when you're playing at the beginning of your turn, you can only choose one of these icons to activate, as opposed to in the die roll, you get to activate all of them. Now, if you didn't want to draw a card and you did not want to play one of these and it's the beginning of the turn, then you could activate one of these Nazgul cards. So let's take a look at one of these. This will have the icon at the top, and one player discards 5 symbols or 2 of these symbols, for example. Active player is 3 cards or the next event occurs. So the Nazgul will kind of move things along, and you'll be able to replenish these, but you can play these instead of playing this card or drawing up at the beginning of a turn. Now, the new tiles, this one would activate the Sauron, so this would give Sauron a turn. This one says volunteer to activate the Sauron player, or the Sauron figure moves 1 step. So you can take a choice of allowing Sauron to take a turn, thus burning a card, etc., possibly doing worse, or just move Sauron 1 spot. And you'll have 2 of each in the deck for a total of 4 tiles that will be added. Now, the Black Rider is going to be moving down the corruption line. That's what this guy is going to be doing. So on his turn, he can return. If he ever gets all the way down, he would turn around and then start going back towards Mordor. The Sauron player receives 1 Nazgul card from the deck, so if he makes it all the way down or catches the Hobbits, you will get an additional Nazgul card that you can use. And the Ring Bearer must activate the Sauron player by a dice roll. So that's kind of what he's going to be doing when he's trying to catch the Hobbits. Now, when the Fellowship reaches any of these resource tiles that were put on the board at the beginning of each board, these are going to help the Fellowship and give them powers. So, like, for example, this one allowed them to draw 3 cards. This one will give them a special card, the Ring of Elrond. This one gives them the Eagles, Gawar. This gives them, you get to take 3 shields. So as they progress down, this gives them the Red Arrow. So a lot of these, you just kind of pull this card out and you would be able to find that item. Kind of like the base game as you find things. So this part of the game is going to help the Fellowship. So you're going to have some Sauron, some Nazgul that's going to be showing up. This Black Rider going back and forth for Sauron. But you're going to have these resource tiles and additional cards and shields that you can activate through these resource chips that you'll be able to get during the game. As for the ending of the game, it still kind of plays the same. There's a few little bit of rules. So once you get to the Mount Doom, you throw the ring in. You still have to destroy it. There's a little bit of back and forth at that point. The actions of Sauron become a little bit limited, and then the game kind of ends in the same path. Now, if you do have the Friends and Foe expansion, you can still play this with it. You're going to have these 2 cards that can be added. These kind of help out the Fellowship if you're playing with the expansion. The One Ring, the Ring Bearer may pass the ring to another Fellowship player. At the start of the game, this card is face up. At any point during the game, he may decide to apply the card and pass the ring to another fellowship. As for Watchful Peace, Sauron moves back 3 steps on the corruption line. This will be face up at the start of the game. At any point, the ring bearer may decide to apply the card. If it's not been used by the end of the game, then you would score 10 additional points. You only want to use it if you need to, because it'll cost you points if you're doing that. If you're not doing the end of game scoring, which sometimes we really don't, we just kind of want to survive or see how far we get, so points don't matter, then this will be easier to use, but it'll move Sauron back 3 spots. Now these 23 dark tiles, they can be used without the expansion, but they're kind of recommended to make things harder for the Fellowship. So you're going to put these tiles in the bag and be able to draw from them. So you see move Sauron. You're going to have these different options that you can do. If you join together with other players, discard cards with 3 fighting symbols, which otherwise the next event would occur. You're going to have a circle, which is the Hobbit moves 1 space towards the corruption. So these are supposed to be just darker and harder for the Fellowship and kind of makes the game more difficult. But it's nice that it's included, and these 2 that I just showed you are recommended if you're using the Foes expansion. So that's Lord of the Rings Sauron Expansion, the second expansion for the game system. Now, what do I think about it? I'm going to have to, kind of hesitate a little bit at recommending this. I think there are ways to make the game easier for the Fellowship you can add in, and ways you can make it harder for the Fellowship and easier for the Sauron player. I think some of this stuff is modular, even though it doesn't come out and say it is. I think if you wanted to throw something in to make it a little easier or harder, depending, if you're a father and you're playing against your children, you want to make it a little bit easier for the Fellowship. There are some cards you can throw in to make things easier, which doesn't bring up the complexity too much. Now, this really is going to be expansion for those that want to play one versus all. If you like Lord of the Rings, you just like it being the little cooperative game that it is, you're set. You don't need this. But if you do want to play one versus all, either against your friends, or maybe, like I said, like a parent versus the children, or the rest of the family, or maybe a child likes to be the dungeon master or the Sauron player, but it will become a one versus all game. It does lighten things up from the Friends and Foes expansion if you like that, or if you just want to be a completist and have everything, this will definitely be something that you need to get. But this is really for those that want to play one versus all. It kind of changes the form of the game. It feels very different. It feels like instead of random events kind of happening to you, now the players are actively making the decisions. I do like the inclusion of the Black Rider, getting a little more of the lore and the mythology into the game. You still have Fatty that's in here. You do get some upgraded cards that the Fellowship can use. And overall, I find this to be a very solid expansion. I think, though, it's going to be centered around if you want to do one versus all. If you don't want to do one versus all, skip it, I would probably say. And it's really hard for me to say that because there is some good stuff in here. But if you do have any interest in one versus all, you need to check this out. It's a very fun game. You can totally play this with your family. It's light enough. And it kind of goes through the Lord of the Rings, and you can have a lot of fun. If you like Shadows over Camelot and you like that trader mechanic, this is really fun. I think it's on the same kind of wavelength of that. And I think that you'll really enjoy it. So that's kind of where I fall on this. It just depends on your playing style and what you're looking for. For me, I give it maybe 1 thumb up. I like it. It is something I'm going to use all the time because I do enjoy this game a little bit more as a cooperative experience. Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you liked it, please like it and hit that little subscribe button. That really helps out the channel. Lets us know that you're getting the videos that you want. If you agreed or disagree with what I said, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I promise that I will comment back. Thanks for watching, and everybody else, keep playing.